We interrupt this program.
It is now that part of the program when we shall
Unbox, 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 unbox.
What's inside the box?
Hey folks, welcome. I actually think it worked. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for coming today on Unboxing Day. I myself am not Canadian, so I am not going to front like I am, but happy Unboxing Day anyway. And it's the day after Christmas for all of you that are celebrating that. Let me go ahead and bring in my co-host for today, and I'm really appreciative that he could jump on today. We're bringing in Oz from Ozstradamus Toyz.
What's up, everybody? Good to see some of you all again tonight.
Look at that. It worked. It
really
That's
worked. That was great. I really like that.
So what's up? You've been streaming tonight, actually. I saw you earlier. I was watching you do your thing along with Figuratively Speaking.
That's right. Figuratively Speaking, who's here in the chat. He contacted me earlier about doing a quick live. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, it'd be great. I'll jump on live with him. And so we were going through the Christmas haul that he had. A lot of really cool stuff in there.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, man. And so then now, you would hit me up about trying to go live a little bit later. And I was like, you know what? Hey, what a great thing to do on Boxing Day. We're going to unbox some stuff, right?
Unboxing Day.
It's a fun Unboxing Day event. So I had to get some stuff set up a little bit earlier. I had to go through and do some household chores kind of thing. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on tonight. This is great.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, let's first figure out, let me figure this whole StreamYard thing out. Who do we got in the chat? We've got Quip, the artist formerly known as, and I'll ... that because I'm not sure if he wants to be known. You let me know, Quip, if you want to be you want your alias to be revealed. Otherwise, it's Quip. What's up, Quip?
Quip, good to see you.
Got Eldor from Masterversal Toy Hunter channel. Good to see you
Here,
again.
Figuratively
speaking, it was great to see you live earlier. You got an amazing haul. I'm kind of jealous of those Thundercats, but I'll move on. There's this guy named Ozstradamus Toyz in the chat too. Who's that? Oh,
I heard that guy's a jerk. You should kick him out of there.
He's amazing. He's a bot, actually.
He really is. God, he never stops.
We got Thanos Copter in the chat. Awesome. Very cool to see everyone. Thank you all for coming through. So in the spirit of sort of the holidays and, me having a little bit of extra time, I figured maybe now's the perfect time to catch up on some of that, to catch up on some of the packages that have been sitting around for 22. I got a pile and I was like, hey, I'm doing this channel. I'm going to slowly unbox things and review them. And you know how that goes, Oz, Yeah. So this live thing is perfect because it's like I don't have to edit. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I've been struggling with it and I love it. I love the editing, but it does take time. So I love just doing this. We're gonna figure out something. I pulled something out that I've been wanting to unbox for a while just because I'm incredibly curious. And I kind of mentioned it earlier on the sort of thumbnail and the preview. So we'll take a look at that in a second, but I just want to name, we got Quip, who unmasked himself. He said, no big deal. The artist formerly known as 16-bit Misfit, not
right.
hiding. Cool. Just a name change for 23. And then we got Nolan.
Nolan, what's up? Good to have you.
Okay, so you've got something to unbox too, yeah?
I do.
Perfect. Okay. So let me go ahead and, well, actually, yeah. Why don't you just sort of show us what you have, and then they've kind of probably already seen what I've got, and you'll see how these two things kind of work together. What you got?
Exactly. So my son's been getting into Dragon Ball lately. He just started getting into Dragon Ball Z, and highly articulated. Just did an unboxing the other night with some Dragon Ball. And he had Beerus and he had Goku. Very nice Goku. He had
Son
Goku. Yeah, Son Goku. And he had like the more high-end class figures. But me, I'm a man of thrifty and frugal needs, so I got to go a little bit cheaper. Yeah, that's right. So I had my eye on these and kind of wanted to get them so I could play around with Connor with them a bit. And so finally I did it and picked up the Dragon Star series. We have an ultra here. His hair is black though, so he's not like full on Ultra Instinct. As well as we grabbed a Super Saiyan Vegeta.
Nice.
One of my personal favorite characters. So definitely got both of these guys. And we're going to take some time to unbox them. I have not had a new Dragon Ball figure since, like 2005, 2008. Like, it's been ages since I picked one up. And, these guys were just kind of sitting there and they were like, you know what? You need to pick us up. So what a great day to go ahead and get in and unbox these.
Awesome. And then I've got this. So I've kind of come back into toys this year, and I've just been lurking, watching, and I've heard a lot about Storm Collectibles, and I got my first Storm Collectibles earlier this year, and that was she actually ended up being one of my figures of the year. This from Golden Axe, Tyrus Flare. Oops, who just lost a hand.
Oh no.
I love this figure. I actually got her. You know me. I'm kind of predictable. I got her at first because she comes with a creature, a critter.
Like me, it's got a critter. You gotta get it, right? Doesn't matter who it is. I don't even collect G.I. Joe Classified, but I'm getting that Crocmaster. I need Fiona in my life.
So I got these and was just kind of blown away by them both, just in terms of like the materials and the sculpts and everything, right? And of course they totally are kind of in line with this whole largely Masterverse kind of Masters of the Universe sort of aesthetic, right? The sword, the sorcery, the sandals, and like sci-fi. I'm like, yeah, this works. And I was a huge fan of the Genesis version. I didn't do so much in the arcade for some reason. Golden Axe.
I went back and played the arcade more after playing the Genesis version.
So being into that figure, I was like, I want to kind of check out what these figures are about. And I do have the little short dude from the dwarf from Golden Axe, Gilius. Haven't opened him, so I'll probably unbox him in the next couple of days live again. But I wanted to do this one because I've been intrigued by this one. I was like, I'm always kind of looking for a variety on my shelf. I love the idea of sort of more Eastern Asian inspired characters. This is apparently from a fighting game called World Heroes Perfect that I completely forgotten about until I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, I played this game. I remember playing it on the old Neo-Geo cabinets, right, in the arcade that weren't, I wouldn't see those often actually around where I was at. I think I was on a Vegas trip and I was like, oh, this is cool. You can pick a game. Didn't know the games, but I was like, okay, cool, fighting game. And so anyway, saw this figure, saw that Storm Collectibles did it. And there's, again, predictable, there's kind of a critter inside, kind of. So that's where I'm at. And I figure, can you hold up your guys there for a second? I feel like they work, right? We've got these martial arts inspired.
Right.
Yes. Cool.
We've got it.
So why don't we do this? You've got two. Let's do one of yours. We'll come back to here, and then we'll close off with another one of yours.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I'm going in on Ultra Instinct Goku first here.
Cool.
Now, the last figures that I had that I bought from DBZ like 100 years ago now, it feels, were they weren't as articulated as these newer guys are. So like they had like standard poses you can kind of do with them, but they weren't very, very posable. This was before we started getting a lot more of the higher end, more posable figures.
And who makes these, by the way?
Bandai.
Bandai.
As a matter of fact, I think Storm Collectibles is actually owned by Bandai.
Are they?
I have to go back and look, but I do believe, because it was funny when I was making our the Patreon Discord, I ended up like pulling up Bandai because I know that they did like the Dragon Ball Z stuff, and they had a couple of other things as well. And I was shocked at just how many are just, oh, well, hey, his foot came right out here as I'm trying to pop him out of the plastic. So we got a nice little ball joint on Goku's foot. Anybody familiar with DBZ Super knows that.
I was going to say, are you familiar with these figures at all? Like the construction, this brand, the Bandai?
Not as much because I haven't collected them. Now, mind you, the last ones that I bought were Bandai. But again, that was like almost 20 years ago, or like maybe 13, 14 years ago. So like a lot can change. They've definitely changed a lot of their ways. Because again, at the time, they didn't put as much articulation into the figures as they do now. But I got to say, overall, he seems all right. I mean, foot went right back and it came off again. So we'll have to see how well this ball joint really fits.
Storm Collectibles are kind of like that too. They're a little finicky, but
yeah. Okay. So
Thanos knows what's going on. He's had a bunch of vintage Japanese Dragon Ball figures. What brand are those? I'm curious, Thanos, or what? I
think they might have been Bandai as well. No, if they're too vintage from Japan, they're probably just PVC. Okay, so Goku, as I'm trying to, oh wow. I'm actually not really liking these.
Getting nervous. I'm sweating for you. It's like,
as I'm trying to move him around, his ball joints are just popping. Like, I don't know what the hype is over Goku and his fighting tactics, because I've just ripped him to pieces. Like, as I was trying to pop the leg back on, I put too much pressure on the torso and they popped off.
Huh.
So, yeah, there we go. Okay, I got it.
So this is effectively the first time you've kind of messed with this kind of figure.
Yeah, it is. And overall, I'm not liking how loose these ball joints are, because his foot, just again, as I was popping the leg back in, the foot flew off again.
Thanos says it was the Bandai Super Battle Collection.
Okay. Yeah, because they've re-released so many different versions of them over the years. And I mean, they've always looked really cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, they look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I will say here, his flesh tone and his eye, like, the actual white part of his eye,
Mm-hmm.
are almost the same, to the point where in my light here, I can tell he's got his gray eyes for Ultra Instinct. His hair is still black with
Mm-hmm.
kind of a high gloss to almost make it look like it has that silver sheen it gets.
Mm-hmm.
But the eyeball area around it, it's white, but it's almost as white as the skin flesh tone around it. It's very hard to tell the difference. So I think the paint app could have been a little bit better on that, I think. Now, he comes with 2 sets of hands. So he's got his standard closed fist for doing punching. And then we have his more open hands, still in box here.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do some grappling or the ever popular Kamehameha.
Mea.
So let's see how easily his hands will pop off here.
Oops, I forgot about clicking on these chat things to blow them up earlier when I was doing the roll call. Figuring it out. Actually, Nolan's got a question as you're figuring that out. Would you prefer a figure with a little better sculpt or a figure with a little better articulation? What's your preference?
I'm actually a big fan on articulation overall.
Okay.
I do enjoy a solid figure with articulation. Now, I know sometimes that can sacrifice quality on sculpts, just because, he may, well, like in this case, he's got all these different points of articulation,
Mm-hmm.
but because of that, he's almost falling apart.
Yeah.
Or like back in the day, loved how much articulation G.I. Joe had. Like, out of everything else that was out there, G.I. Joe had the most articulation. But then you would actually kind of see the fault with that, because they couldn't always stand themselves up so well.
Right.
Whereas, like, I could stand up my Masters figures, or I could stand up my Ninja Turtles or something like that. They had less articulation, but they were sturdier figures. I think they've managed to find a really good balance now with articulation and sturdiness. Now, Bandai, again, has always done a really good job of making sure that these Dragon Ball figures look how we see them in the anime, which is great, because that's kind of important.
Yeah.
Like, you want it to look like that representation that you're used to seeing in the show. But, like, again, with like those big pants, it's a little hard to get that double knee. And as I go and try to do the double knee, his foot's come off.
The foot. Yeah. What's up?
So that's becoming a big issue with me here, is this foot.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little too heavy-handed. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, they shouldn't be popping off that easily.
Right. Like, it should be pretty solid.
Yeah.
And these guys normally go for, like, I think about 20 a figure. Of course, I got them significantly cheaper.
Very
It's
nice.
actually that cost for both of them 50% off. So I wasn't too bad.
Well, as far as the preference, I tend to be really into a sculpt. But I do like articulation. I love to be able to kind of strike a pose. They don't have to be wild, but ultimately, like, the visual appeal is often, as I've said before, more important to me than some of the other things that we deal with. Like, with I don't know. Sometimes with lore, for example, like, I'm more into kind of the characters visually, and that's often what I gravitate to. It's like, oh yeah, that's that cool character who had that mask or whatever, and I kind of almost don't even think about what the story is. That's how it was with when Masters of the Universe came out. When those came out, we didn't have the cartoon. It was like at least a year before Filmation came out when I got my Skeletor, and my brother got his He-Man, and it was just about these characters look awesome. And the mini comics were cool, but ultimately it was just, we were drawn to the figure itself. Same goes for a lot of the toys. That said, I agree with, at as Quit points out, it's like, but if it was just about the sculpt, I'd be collecting statues, right? There's certainly
it.
needs to be a balance. And it's true. Like,
Agreed.
you know, I look at some of these statues and I'm like, wow, those are gorgeous, but there is that posing and playing and interaction that I love. So yeah, I think as he kind of said earlier, I feel like there needs to be articulation for it to be a figure. So
Agreed. Yeah, definitely agree with that, because otherwise it's just a statue. That's one of the reasons why McFarlane early on Spawn stuff had really decent articulation, but then he got to a point with like his movie Maniacs line that he was doing where they were amazing sculpts. They looked great, but they didn't have the articulation. So to me, it felt more like they were statues.
Yeah, I had an Akira figure that was like that, and a Tetsuo figure that was essentially like a cool statue. You could move them a little, but wasn't as fun. Thanos just kind of points out like, these days, especially as the articulation improves and changes, there's almost like it's like an arms race, pun intended, where it's like there's the need to like ratchet it up as people do these things. And I think it's also come back to like McFarlane, right? So now people are kind of like, at the time it was pretty cool, right? And now people are expecting a little bit more and kind of, you know, go after McFarlane a little bit because of what's going on. Let's see.
Well, he's done an amazing job where a lot of his figures now include really good articulation.
Yeah.
But he changes it up per line.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how differently things are with him, and the way he kind of moves around.
I dig it though.
Yeah, Nolan's saying he'd give up a little bit of articulation for a better sculpt, but needs a minimum of 5 to 7. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty minimal. And
I agree.
Would bring me way back to my Kenner Star Wars days, right?
Yeah, well, like, I like, and Kenner does the same thing like McFarlane does, depending on which almost grade of figure you're buying from them, depends on what kind of articulation you're looking at. And I can get behind that. And it doesn't mind if it reflects it in the price too. What I don't like is like with Super 7 with the reaction, you're getting a 5-point articulation in a figure that's 3.75, and they're charging me the same amount of money that you buy in this guy for.
Right.
I have an issue with that.
No, I totally get that. And the whole, that's a whole other conversation in terms of like costs. But I think because there's that nostalgia, like I'm not even necessarily going to stand by Super 7's pricing. But
I like the company anybody's yum, as Dole likes to say. If you're into the reaction,
I love that Dole says that. Yeah,
me too. And it's spreading. It's spreading amongst the community.
So I organized here when I moved to the Bay Area around 1998 exactly, and I started doing some stuff in the community, doing youth organizing, and we'd have these sort of like ground we call them agreements, or like how we're going to run a meeting or whatever it is. And I'd say right around 2004 or 5. That became one of them, right? Along with things like respect and one mic. It was like, don't yuck your yum. So I kind of love that it's come into the toy circles, and I love it.
Yep.
And we learn that in schools too. We teach that in schools too. But in fact, my youngest said that to my dad, his grandfather, one time, and my dad got all offended. What does this mean? Don't.
It's like the fact that you're offended by it means you're too used to expressing your own opinion while ignoring everybody else's kind of
especially thing. Children. It's kind of a thing in our family.
It happens to all of us. That's just how it goes. It was a different
Nolan's
generation.
saying kind of like the 12-inch figures. And I'm assuming you're meaning those ones that are kind of more common now, right? With like Marvel 12-inch. I've seen them for like right now. They have them for Namor and the Black Panther figures. They're kind of just right. I'm assuming the ones that sort of feel quote unquote like a cheap statue that you can move their heads and maybe arms.
What kind of figuratively speaking was opening up a couple, the Titan Hero series.
Those exactly the Titan ones. That's right. Yeah.
I think those are great for like, again, anybody who's into them. They're really
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
I actually, when my son was a toddler, those were the Marvel toys that we were buying because
Mhm.
they were extremely durable. They did have limited articulation, but again, they're solid,
Yeah.
and he wasn't going to lose them because they were huge. So there's no
Right.
worry about choking,
Yep.
no accessories really to lose
Yep.
up until he got War Machine, because War Machine was his first one that had accessories. I had like the Gatling guns and stuff to put onto him because he's War Machine. He needs them. But I mean, those are pretty cool. And yeah,
No.
Quicksand Titan series.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to think about a kid with a 12-inch figure in their hands, right? Those are huge and they're just going wild. And I think
Yeah.
I love, and those things are sturdy. Like they're fantastic for what they're in. But
Yeah. But for a more adult collector, let's face it, like, first off, the sculpts aren't always there, maybe.
yeah.
But again, it's really just about, like, again, figuratively speaking, just got a bunch of them.
Mhm.
And they do look awesome when you stand them next to each other.
Yeah.
On a display, they look really well. Like if you're doing like a Hall of Heroes or
Yep.
something like that,
Yep.
it'd be perfect to have all of those.
Yep.
So I mean, they're really great when you're into that type of collecting, but they don't have all the articulation. You're not going to
Yeah.
pose it out or anything like that. I think
Yeah.
a lot of. Go ahead, Bray.
Oh no, I was just gonna say as we're talking, it's like it really just shows how visually driven I tend to be, because I actually would, if they look great, I'm actually okay with them. As long, they're just standing there, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I guess I ultimately do lean towards that more than articulation. But like we've talked about, and we're getting a little off tangent. Feel free to keep unboxing, but we do the Legions class, right? Next
Yeah.
one on January 14th.
That's right.
I love Mythic Legions, but truthfully, they don't have like what people would consider sort of like state of the art articulation, right? They don't have the double knees but I think they're great for where they're at, and I'm sure that those are going to be adjusted later. But I've never felt like, oh man, I want them necessarily to do more. Now, sometimes when I'm playing with something else that can do a little bit more, I'm like, oh, that's kind of rad. But but then I think when I look at the visuals of Mythic Legions, I think that's where my bias is like, okay, cool. I'd rather have visually. It's cool.
I agree. I agree with you there. Like Mythic Legions, and it's funny because again, we're talking about the Four Horsemen.
Mm-hmm.
They got their start working with McFarlane Toys.
Right.
So McFarlane very early on, as we said, was very much into the sculpt, the detail.
Yeah.
Of
like
the
his artwork. Mm-hmm.
Not so much the articulation.
Sure.
And again, he got better with it. Then you had the Four Horsemen jump over to 2000X He-Man line with Mattel.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you remember the early on ones,
very limited articulation.
Right. But you were kind of okay with it at the same point, because our original Masters of the Universe guys, they had 5-point articulation. That was it. You didn't get much more. Right. They always had more of the battle posed already look. Mm-hmm. So it was okay. It wasn't until Classics where we started to see a lot of articulation in Masters.
Yep.
And guess who started those? Four Horsemen. So
they
they know how to incorporate that high-end articulation and their sculpts now, which we see in Mythic Legions, but they also have to look at, again, the more articulation we add, sometimes we got to take a little bit away from it depending on how we're going to do it.
And then counterpoint, Thanos, right? I wish the Masters toys were able to hold swords and axes with two hands. And the same goes for Mythic Legions. They're not quite there yet.
Right.
So it's funny. It's like, I guess, to go back to the original question of sort of like, which would you rather have? If given the choice, I'd say for me, visuals. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to turn down great articulation. And
that's right.
Again, jumping all over the place, and I'll start sharing those when I do more of the news stuff in the next couple of days. But today, Jason Benvenu of Spiro Toys did a live stream showing a little bit more of Animal Warriors of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Man, the articulation on those, like it's like Marvel
very
Legends
exciting.
style with a butterfly, but and then some, like an extra ball joint on the bottom of the neck and the top of the neck, and it's sort of got that. From what I can see, I haven't had one in hand, but the sculpt chops of what I'm seeing coming out of Four Horsemen Studios, with the articulation of some of like the best, you know. I mean, I'd say Marvel Legends, but I mean, even just some of the things that I've seen of, you know, Mafex even in some cases. Like, so anyways, I'm totally with Thanos on this. It's one of those things where right now I'm good with it. The second I see a He-Man figure that can do that, I never want to go back. So
I know, because once you get your hands on it once, you're like, we have to do it this way now. Like now that Origins has come out, I'd be upset if more figures had less articulation now from that line. Which again, we've also seen the sacrifice of certain gimmicks with that, because
it's funny
they
how it
want
all
that
comes back to
modularity. And well, it always does with me.
I know, it's so funny when we're on there. It's like, oh, I mean, how about Motu?
Look, you know, I got a whole big shelf back here full of them. So, and various other things you can see in the background. Ignore most of that because, you know, it's all going away. But yeah, it's just one of those big things with me where, like, that's where my passion for toys starts. So I'll always talk about it. And what we're getting now between Masterverse and Origins is a really, mostly with Masterverse, it's that really good balance between sculpt and articulation. I still wish, again, there could be a little bit more here and there, but that's okay.
Agreed.
Origins, it's a great improvement over what I originally had, but sometimes I kind of wish a little bit more for the gimmicks. You know, Cobra Khan's one of those figures where I used to love the original because I could squirt, you know, run around and harass everybody with squirting them. And I can't with the new one. Not that I'd be running around harassing people with a squirt gun like that at 40 years old, but you know, it is what it is. I'll do what I want.
No, I love that. Thank you for bringing that the question up, Nolan. I appreciate that. So where are we at with
So I wish I can get him a little better posed. If he had the butterfly shoulders, I could pull his arms in a little bit closer to get that full Kamehameha wave. He kind of stops at about here.
You mind holding him up a little closer? Let's see how, like, Vic, since we're talking sculpt and
so sculpt wise, again, he's pretty detailed.
I like him.
One thing that I don't like here is the gap between the shoulder, and then there's like that extra plastic that just didn't finish right there at the end.
Is that because of where the joint is on the shoulder?
Let me see if it'll focus. Like, you can see that.
I see. There's actually more of a gap.
Plastic.
Got it.
Yeah. And I kind of wish maybe that was a little tighter. But I mean, again, he does have that full kind of ball joint. Like, he can get himself up decently at the elbow here. And you bring it back down, but now I'm almost worried I'm gonna like rip his arm out of his socket with my previous interaction.
That's that bummer, swivel. Right?
Got that bicep swivel. He's got the double elbow, double pin. It's not pinless joints, but that's okay because at least they have the same flesh tone for the pins and joints. Because, you know, sometimes like when you got a really awesome Spider-Man figure and like one part of it's in the blue, one part of it's in the red, that pin's only coming in one color. And whichever side it shows through. So, I mean, overall, he's got fair articulation. I can't pin his feet down like if I wanted to put him in the flying pose. Well, this one apparently I can. But if I try to toe that down anymore, we had that issue again. That foot keeps popping off.
I agree with Quip. I think he looks great. And then, you know, until you said the pin, like, one, my brain isn't yet trained to like think about the pins, right? And I know that that's a big deal for a lot of people. But especially probably with a camera in the distance. I didn't even notice it. Like it just
Right,
kind of
yeah.
blends.
Well, that's how good it is because
Yeah.
again, they had that
And
same
they're
plastic.
and they're a little
They're
higher to the
virtually
surface. You don't see they're not like in there like some of the classics where you kind of see a shadow
right,
almost. Yeah.
right. See, I gotta hold it in the light that much for you to even see that there were pins in his arms.
Yeah.
It looked pinless. Yeah, I
Dano
agree,
agrees with you on
Thanos.
that. Yeah.
It's
Otherwise,
got me a
cool.
little yeah, so he's pretty good. Um, the only extra pack-in stuff he had was the extra set of hands.
Mhm.
So yeah, aside from some wonky ball joints, um, I'm cool with this Goku figure. I think he'd be great. I don't think much in the way of playing with, which kind of bums me out because I wanted Connor to be able to really play with these guys.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same point, though, um, he'll be fun to pose.
Mhm.
So it might be cool. Like Connor kind of understands certain figures are better for posing and making them look cool versus um, being able to actually play with them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, that's like one of the reasons Connor was checking out all the Alien and Predator figures I was getting from NECA a few years back. He was like, "Those are really cool," and I was like, "Yeah, they are really cool." And he goes, "Can I play with them?" And I said, "No, no, you cannot."
Yeah,
Because
Daddy barely plays with them because
right, right. Uh, but then shortly after that, I went and I did. I bought the entire Kenner line of
uh-huh.
Alien,
Yep.
Predator, and the Marines,
Yep.
and he could play with those. They were
Yeah.
better for playing.
Right.
So he already kind of has that understanding. But I know he's going to want to. He's going to want to have Goku and Vegeta fight because that's
Sure.
what he watches them do. So I'm a little bummed out that if he tries to do a kick, like Goku's foot's going to fly off somewhere.
Yeah. It's funny. It's the same thing with me and my youngest. He's super into Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer,
Nice.
and just the figures are way too adult in terms of like what you're experiencing. And
Yeah.
so I want to say there might be a McFarlane thing coming up that would likely get him because that probably would be stand up a little bit better. Are you all? Is that what we're seeing of Goku?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what we got there.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, you can swap me out here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and we'll do the unbox cam here.
Let's get that beautiful screen.
And we've got this guy. Let's see. Well, I'll hold it around. So let's dig into this World Heroes Perfect. I don't
Right?
even remember what the start animation was like. That's how. Are you familiar with this game at all?
No, not so much. I mean, the Neo-Geo was like such a quick flash in the pan kind of. It got more love well after it was kind of out of date than it did while it was around, and at least in my area.
Same.
Not too many people had it, and then like later. Oh,
You're
does that
are you
insert
talking
slide
about?
out?
Yes, they do.
Oh, that'd be gorgeous for a display.
Yes, I'm not super good with the whole. No, but the Storm Collectible stuff is really cool that way.
Yeah.
It's like the figure obscura stuff where they really think about the packaging. Mythic Legions too to a certain extent, but those are pretty standard with all the figures.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah, that's really nice. I really like that.
And I am such a we actually just started getting back into gaming in this house because of we got the kids a Switch. It's our first console we've had in the house for a long time. But I was a NES kid and then an arcade kid, and then my cousin had a Genesis and play with those. But like that logo, the SNK logo, or like the Konami logo, or like the Sega logo, all those things that would pop up and would totally get stuck in my brain. And so whenever I see that, there's something nostalgic for me when I see that.
Absolutely.
SNK. And look at those beautiful pixels.
Yeah, because I was a big one into, as most of us were, like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat took the video game world by storm. And, like all those fighting games were absolutely the best for us at the time. Like I got into all the different ones back then too, like Clay Fighters and what the Ninja
Clay
Turtle
Fighters
one that came out. I loved Clay Fighters. That
yes.
was so much fun.
Claymation, stop motion. That's so
Right?
awesome.
It was so cool. And you know, I actually got out of fighting games more when they went into the 3D realm. Um, I was still kind of a Tekken guy. I did enjoy my Tekken.
I did too.
Virtua Fighter. That was another fun one that I really enjoyed.
Didn't really get to play that one.
Yeah, I didn't play the original one so much, but like the later renditions.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw on the back of that box that spiraling
That's
dragon
the
pose.
dragon.
And, oh my god, that looks gorgeous.
Okay.
That would fit right in if like you get yourself like a Ryu or heck even like a I don't know, I could see some cool posing with like the Rocky Red Ranger you know, when he had the Red Dragon Zord when they did the Thunder Zords. Like you could do some cool posing with that with like a Lightning Collection Red Ranger. That'd be neat.
It's a trip. They put this like extra layer of plastic. I don't totally know the function, but same here. There's
Looks
like
kind
an
of
extra,
like a dust cover almost.
and it's kind of nice though because they also don't use that same sort of like let's pinch the figure in. Like you can kind of just pull them right out,
Which
right?
is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, doing that, but I don't. Yeah, so let me just. You see, there's a bunch of stuff in here.
Right.
I'm the worst when it comes to these unboxing things and being like showing all the little things that come through.
Figuratively speaking, saying he still got his Neo-Geo. That's awesome, man. Like I said, it gets a lot more respect now than when it came out.
Where was that? Oh, yeah, there you go. You still have your Neo-Geo. All right, I'm gonna just go for it here. This is how we do here. Yeah, when I say unbox something, I mean unbox it.
Right?
So my camera is a little. Well, I guess I could lower, but
there you go.
Don't mind the. What have we got in here? We've got Beastman and
I see some
leech parts.
Leech parts.
I guess I could have just lowered, but whatever. All right, here's the figure, and that it's pretty wild already. I can tell. I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah, let me just. What am I doing here? I forgot about that whole. Yeah, you can adjust the camera, dude. All right. You know what I miss on these because I've kind of become used to them is especially with the toe articulation. But I guess if you're like doing photography and you might not want that, I totally get that. But I've become reliant on that.
Well, he looks pretty sturdy overall.
Oh, they are. They're definitely sturdy. They got some funny things going on that I think would be weird for folks on sort of first play. Actually, I'm going to move this so we can get the contrast.
Yeah.
You know, like things move around, but they don't quite fall apart. Although, story for another day. Well, story for another day. But the Golden Axe Dragon was giving me. Oh, there you go. See, no, the Golden Axe Dragon was giving me some issues. But aesthetics, like what drew me was the look of this guy. And it's funny, it does have a little bit more of an illustratory kind of look to him. But I don't know, it works. It works for my shelf. I've got a weird shelf, like, you know, between the Masters of the Universe stuff and say Mythic Legions, which tend to try to go for like a middle ground between sort of illustrated, animated, and realistic, photorealistic. Yeah, there's a lot of. Yeah. But anyways, it works for me. I don't trip too much. Hands.
I mean, he almost looks like he rolled right out of a Square Enix game.
He does. He does.
You know, with the sculpt on that.
Well, like the anime of the game.
Right.
Hands galore.
It's always nice.
They've got like also, what do we got here? We've got the high five. We've got the kind of like, the martial artsy almost. I'm going to poke your eyes out. Again, high five. Weapon hand.
Very nice.
And then we've got weapons galore. Well, sort of. Not too much.
Cool. Yes.
Like if I were taking this though, And like if I was gonna move it like say real fast and go,
See, I like that.
so it's cool. At first, I thought these were sort of like I don't know the name of the figures.
Like a
Anybody?
sickle.
Yeah. But the effects are amazing. They're cool. And then we've got, oh, what is this?
It's almost
What
like
is
pinwheel
this?
types.
Does this go?
Oh, that looks like a star almost, like if you were throwing a star.
Yeah, no, but maybe, but I suspect.
Oh.
I wonder if it's like does this go like around his hand? I don't know.
Maybe.
I'd have to do some
Well,
research.
Quip
But here
has
you
a
go.
good question
up?
in the chat there. He's asking, how is the joint stiffness fresh out of the box now?
Oh yeah,
it
see, I'm
looked like-
also real lazy when it comes to heating things up and take some stupid risks, especially with Mythic Legions. But it's pretty good. This joint right here is a little bit warm, like
Feel that stiffness.
a little bit right there. No, it's fine. It was just it's. So the other thing with Storm Collectibles is they mix plastics a lot. So you've got this like rubbery plastic on parts that I wouldn't necessarily assume would be rubbery, and even their body parts. This feels almost like a as stiff as say like a Masterverse figure, but with say Tyrus, there are parts of her that are, especially the thighs. Yeah, the legs. Same here. For whatever reason, they feel like there's a little bit of a give, not a lot. And then
Tyrus
this is
got
like
some
super
squishy
soft.
thighs, huh?
Yeah, and squishy hair and squishy other parts. I don't want to be weird because she's already in this like trippy red and white. Like it's not even like a I've been, with Red Sonja.
Yeah.
It's more like I went to the bikini store, but it's 80s. It's totally 80s.
Yeah.
What's
100%.
up, Scott Baker? Thank you for joining.
Scott, hey, good to see you, man. Thanks for making it out.
And Bud,
Got Gamer Bud in the house.
who I appreciated, he cut his name shorter because I was like trying to do the @ thing to him. I was like, man, I'm not gonna type all that. For a while, he had it super long. And Bud must be referencing these two sexy guys or Goku and Super Saiyan.
I think he could just be talking about us, but I mean, I'm flattered. I appreciate it. I'll take that compliment, but I gotta say the figures definitely look better than us.
Battle bikini for sure. Oops. Oh, hello. So yeah, it's totally actually these are great. I mean, I've just been just like with Tyrus, I've been super impressed opening these things up, and they've got this interesting joints, right? You see that bothers some people, but I don't know. Part of it was just curiosity, like what are these toys like, and I've heard people talk about them. This one wasn't too bad. I found them on Walmart, but it's still, it's still not a cheap figure. It's a little bit spendy. So I think this was 70 something, 74. So that's a lot, I know, but research. No.
I'm all about the research, man. I dig in when I look.
Yeah, it's so dangerous. Look at
I
that.
like that. I like that. That's a nice.
So we've got a
sheet.
couple different looks. We've got. What's up?
Now, is his head as loose as Goku's foot?
Oh no. I mean, it'll come off. It's looser than Mythic Legions and Masterverse. Okay. They're not like, I mean, they're not. Oh well, I say that and then it comes off. So again, this inset right here is a softer plastic. This is a harder plastic. Softer plastic right here. I don't know if you can see that squish.
Yeah, definitely see that squish.
So it's just interesting the way they decide on what's what. And this piece doesn't come off, but it's a separate piece that can actually open to here. It's interesting how they even constructed that. But he's designed through there. He's got his Predator net shirt on.
Right.
And the hair is also so this sort of soft rubber, which is awesome because I'm poking this, pushing this thing in. And some toys I've gotten recently or this year, like the wolf that also sort of made it in my top 5 this year. You got to be careful with that thing, like holding it and you'll hurt yourself. But
Yeah, of
no,
course.
this thing's really great. I am super impressed pretty consistently with this is feeling tight right here.
Toe
I'm
joint.
gonna push that. Yeah. Yeah, like I warm that up first, but everything else you've got kind of, you can see the mechanism. I geek
Yeah,
out on this stuff.
very
You know?
similar. It's funny. I'm looking at some of those joints, and they are very similar to like what Goku has. But again, if Storm Collectibles is owned by Bandai, which I'd have to pull that up again to find out for sure, that would make a lot of sense. And
Mhm.
depending on like what grade you're buying, depends on what type of joints you get. Because I noticed like the ball joints in his legs there look very similar to what Goku's look like. His look a little bit better, but then like when you go back and you look at like the double elbow joint, he's got like a better version of what this Goku has.
Hmm.
Now it's funny though, because seeing you with the head and then making me want to go back and like pop mine off just to check. I noticed that they've done something kind of weird with the neck on this Goku. Oh wow, that's kind of cool.
I'm thinking that's what's going on.
Yeah,
That's what I'm figuring. Again, I should look into it, but that's what I'm thinking is supposed to happen. Probably
trying to
one of
wonder
those-
like what move he would have had that made him kind of have that spinning pinwheel at the wrist like that.
wrong game, but
He's like some Hordak Hordak action. Because you know, Motu again.
yes.
Um
What were you saying? Sorry about Goku.
yeah, so like this figure has this weird, like the neck is separate from the torso on this Goku, but
Okay.
yet does not really move, which I find really odd. Like you can see that's a whole nother separate piece,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't see a point for it because like it kind of moves, but not really. So I don't understand the purpose for that being a
I mean,
whole
that's got to
separate
be for
piece.
articulation, but like, yeah, it seems limited. It's funny. That's like I was saying earlier about the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom are like that. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's kind of got a separate joint and they can look forward a little bit more like you would assume like a monkey would, because there's some of them are ape creatures.
Sure.
But yeah, I wonder. Yeah.
I find that interesting.
Well, like you said, they maybe, because you were thinking that this might. Does anybody in the chat know? Actually, I haven't been looking.
I was going to say, while you're playing around with him, I can go type it up real quick and find out.
Thanos
Because
thinks that this is his projectile, but Thanos, do you think I was supposed to put him on the figure or like literally just play with it as if it's coming out at you? Are you hearing any static?
it may have just been my phone.
Oh,
I had a
gotcha.
big buzz real quick.
Samurai Showdown. They, I believe, are making Samurai Showdown figs. Storm Collectible, that is.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And you never, so here's the thing. I'm going to point this out. What was happening with the head and the reason it was coming loose was similar to the experience that I was having with the dragon's tail. Part of it is because they have worked in so many like little points of articulation, is that this thing wasn't straight as I was putting it on. So there are times when I'm putting it on, I think it's on, but it's not. Same goes, I just did it with this hand where I'm going in to push this in, but instead of pushing it into the peg, I'm kind of pushing it back, if that makes sense. And I think it's on, and then it just falls right off because I didn't actually put it in.
Similar to Goku.
Once it's in, though, it's not an issue. It was the same with the dragon I was having.
Okay. So,
Man, this is too fun. Yeah, what'd you find?
I've pulled up Bandai Namco, pulled up their brands, and Bandai Namco Toys and Collectibles America Inc. And I've actually got it shared here. So you guys may actually be surprised to find these are all Bandai brands. So you've got the Tamashii Nations, Mega House, Shokugen, Kamen Rider, Studio Ghibli is under theirs, Storm Collectibles, Flame Toys, Sentinel, Blitzway, and Nanoblock. So like, especially like, it surprises me to see Blitzway, Flame Toys, and Storm Collectibles because they're known as like such high end in their toys. Sentinel, I've started to hear more about recently myself.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're getting some praise on like what they're doing with their toys. So under separate privacy terms and policy, because I'm entering shop Bandai. But yeah, this is all Bandai brand. Now here you see a little bit more like the Gundams.
Totally like squirrel. That blue thing with those two giant cannons. What is that? What
Combined
is that?
R2 power. All right, we're bringing it up.
Sorry, no, it's fine.
You got to pre-order it. It says
it's
so.
Cool. I'm done. I saw the price tag. Keep moving on.
I kind of glazed over the price tag, and I don't want to look at it too much. But like,
that's pretty amazing. That's
look at that.
Yeah, man. That's straight. I don't even know what that is, and that's me. I don't really care actually. I look at that and I'm like, cool. What is that?
Yeah, is this okay? Combine R2 powered Super Robot Wars. Okay, so it's Super Robot Wars. I am a little familiar with that because that's a game. Okay. Sentinel Riobot Transform. All right. Yeah. Well, you know what?
Quip was also surprised, by the way, with the Bandai having all those brands. I didn't know that either. And
right. I thought they were all like their own little boutique brands. But I do remember when I was building up the Discord, I had that category for boutique brands, and I was going to go put them in there. And then I noticed that they were under Bandai, and I was like, oh, I kind of need to make Bandai its own section because it has a lot under it.
Real quick, what's up, Bobby? Good to see you. Thank you,
Bobby. Glad you could make it.
Joining in the fun. We have made many obligatory Masters of the Universe references throughout, and I'm sure they won't stop.
No, I'm not done yet.
Wow, that thing is beautiful, though. Look at that, man.
I know. Like, these are
Duchess. Gorgeous. What's going on?
Duchess has made it. Hey, glad to see you.
Thanks for stopping in.
And then they got like these crazy little things.
She was here earlier. I totally missed it. What's up?
Oh no.
I got too caught up in the toys.
So apparently, whatever they were doing with Wolverine, they can't find. I just totally got the Wolverine 404. Oh, that's terrible. I'm digging this Berserker Lancelot though here. I'm a big. Okay, apparently that's not going to happen either. It's another. I wonder if maybe they're having site issues because these are supposed to be featured items, and so far everyone I've clicked is not working. All right, must be the link to whatever their featured items are.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just again confirmed that I was not putting the heads on completely. So to be clear, that was human error, not Storm Collectible error. Yeah, no, and I think at the end of the day, Bandai, it's a huge company,
it's huge
in Japan, so it makes sense that like they'd have these brands and they're sort of at different price points, right? So I think while you were noticing the sort of connections in terms of the designs of the joints with this guy and the one that you picked up, but I'm assuming it's the equivalent of just like different price lines for different markets, and who knows. That's my total popcorn theory.
Really, really digging the Storm Collectible Sub-Zero and Scorpion here.
Yeah. And the Zangief has been tempting me so much since I saw it on Zach and Sella. He did a review a while back, and that was actually the first Storm Collectibles figure that kind of got me intrigued, but never jumped on it.
Unfortunately, they're out of stock, but I would definitely love to have Zangief go head-to-head with Kotaro here. I think that would be amazing to see.
All right, why don't we I'm gonna keep futzing around with this guy, but before I get to the dragon, let's see what's going on with some Saiyan action.
All right, so yeah, I can definitely roll over here and start opening up Vegeta. I'll just stop sharing the screen for right now.
Wait, so who's that character? So my Dragon Ball stuff is very limited to specifically Dragon Ball Z, and it was just a couple episodes. So
Okay.
I lose track of what characters what. And then yesterday or whenever that was, when Highly Articulated was doing that, like I wasn't familiar with Beerus at all. I'd seen some designs, or what was the other one? Son Goku, who is the actual son of Goku. Yeah.
No,
Is that-
no. Son Goku is Goku. The
See, there you
son
go.
just being
I know
the
nothing.
respectful term. You have son and son, which are used for terms of respect.
Okay.
So Son
Totally
Goku
ignorant.
is the same as he was in the original Dragon Ball, and then in Dragon Ball Z, because they're up to what they're doing now is Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah.
So when they originally ended Dragon Ball Z, you ended with the Buu saga, and Goku came back, and Buu was resurrected as this guy Oob, who again, Boo's a character you know nothing about probably since you've only seen a few episodes.
Nope.
Dragon Ball Super, which is where they're at now, and actually which is where both of these figures are from, is the continuation of the story after Dragon Ball Z, but before the next series that had come out, Dragon Ball GT.
God.
Which most people don't care for. So apparently a lot went down that they never went over, which is okay because again, most people don't.
Are you talking about story wise?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Real quick, I want to say what's up to Ralph. Casino Skunk came through.
Oh,
thank you.
Skunk.
Thank you.
What's happening?
Appreciate that.
Excellent.
It's been awesome reconnecting with him because we actually grew up in the same hometown, went to the same grade school, K through 8, went to the same high school. And it's kind of funny how that all fits together. But anyways, story for another time. So, and then also Quip is saying, you remember how Oz was saying his Goku is pale? Son Goku is just his figure with the tan. Thank you for clarifying. I totally
appreciate that.
I totally needed that basic explanation. That's kind of my level. When it
That's
comes
right.
To
you know, Son Goku is, after he hung out in the tanning booth for about half an hour. Because this guy is so pale, it would not take him long to darken up. He'd turn red real quick. So yeah, back in Dragon Ball Z though, they introduced the character of Vegeta. Well, like first off, you found out that Goku wasn't just like a normal person who had a tail. Like he came from a whole nother planet where they had these Saiyans, and it's a whole race of people who had tails that, in the light of the full moon, turn into a giant ape. Again, you had mentioned about Journey to the West references.
Wukong.
Goku is definitely Wukong. That's why he has the extending power pole, and he rides on the Nimbus cloud and does all that. So his references were more so in the original Dragon Ball towards that than in Dragon Ball Z, because they went their whole different way in Z, like aliens and space travel and everything else.
Okay.
So already here, I'm liking this Vegeta a lot more. This is Vegeta Super Saiyan. So
anything fall off when you open him up?
Nope. He was able to come out of the package pretty nicely and easily. I'm realizing that it's like so whatever they use for the legs and the hips, it's like connected in the middle here with the ball. Because like you see
one piece.
It's moving the other. Which is really interesting for the posing. It's like, look, I can even make him do some kicking action. Hiya, hiya. And all I'm doing is pulling the other leg.
Because you're pulling it up, and it's like a T or something. Or a Y, I guess.
Like a little Y bar almost in there. That's kind of neat. I'm not used to seeing that kind of articulation in a figure. This is different. Very, very different. Skin wise, like paint app, I can definitely see a difference between his eyeball, and his skin tone. So that's nice. But it's a shame they almost didn't like do some kind of wash. In anime, notoriously, like they'll have a vein pop out on the
Yep.
one.
It's sculpted, but you can't.
It's definitely there. I don't know if I can make the shadow hit it.
Kills me. I wanted to mention that earlier. I caught it later and I just kind of let it go. But when you were talking about the Titans, there's a lot of detail on those and a lot of toys, period, that we don't
Ooh.
necessarily even see, that don't get brought up because
Right.
of the lack of paint or deco. Yeah.
Lack of paint or a lack of wash. Again, there's so much sculpted detail in Motu that just gets skipped over because there's no wash to bring it out. And then when they do a wash on a figure, a lot of times it's really sloppy and just nasty looking.
It's true. Why don't you show them that while I actually go get some hot water, because this guy will be needing it. Be right.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
So overall, Vegeta's joints are a little bit stiffer, a little more solid than Goku's were. I'm definitely not having no foot issues. Never mind. I spoke too soon. The foot popped off. But they've got that really interesting like half ball where you can see it's like the half ball joint and then it does its own kick. So that's pretty cool because I'm seeing that a lot more in a lot of higher end figures these days where it's got that kind of like half ball joint type thing. And he's got that in the wrist too, which again I really like because if Vegeta had a power sword to hold aloft and say by the power of Grayskull, he could hold his sword. So, but he's got the double elbow articulation, which is nice. Now it's funny because again, the Goku figure has a pin in the top and a pin in the bottom. Vegeta only has a pin in the forearm. He doesn't have it in the bicep. So that's very interesting that even on a figure of the same wave, that it does not have that same articulation or same kind of joint style. I find that very interesting that they did. So
I guess my mic was muted, but when I heard you in my earbuds saying, "Oh, spoke too soon," I was like, "No!"
I went to go do the foot thing, and it came off. But fortunately, his is a little bit better though. Like you can see, I can do this, and it's not coming off. If I were to do that with Goku, it'd be coming right off again. So overall, he's a little bit more solid than the Goku was with his points. Again, I've still got that gap in the shoulders that I don't like so much. But it's okay. Like it's a little bit feasible. Now he has a move similar to Goku called the Gallic Gun, with the Kamehameha, kind of similar setup. He came with hands so that you can kind of pose him for that. But again, he doesn't have the butterfly to fully pull it together for him to do the full pose. So that's kind of a shame because like you just can't pull their arms in enough to really do the pose for it. So that's a bit of a shame. I don't know. Maybe. No. It wouldn't look entirely right. Like the swivel bicep joint helps get it closer, but it's just not enough to fully pose it out. Because when you extend the elbow joint, then the arms separate even with the bicep swivel. So that's kind of a bummer. And again, he's got that weird disjointed neck that has some mobility, but not like really anything. But, overall, I feel a lot safer with Connor playing with him. Now, I will say...
I was going to ask if you felt comfortable with it.
He's got some pretty dense, spiky hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have to just quote Christmas Story and be like, you can poke your eye out, kid.
Yeah. So it's not a softer kind of rubber.
Yeah, it's pretty dense. Like at the tips, it's where it's that softness, like you can almost be pliable. But I
Mhm.
think it's because they're so thick going
Yeah.
up.
Well, like I said, with
Very
this one, it's
dense.
got that soft thing, and I was like, oh, that was smart of them to kind of think about that. And then
Yeah.
I started playing with this one. I was like, no, they weren't thinking about that at all, because this is gonna like, yeah,
They did it for the hair, but not for the flame effect dragon.
nope.
At least they didn't find a way to heat it so that it it burns you when you touch it. So, we were talking about the pins and stuff,
Mhm.
and I'd mentioned before while you were away that he doesn't have. Now, Goku had the pin in the bicep. He
Mhm.
doesn't have the pin in the bicep, but he does have the double pins in the
On the
knees.
knees. Yeah.
And I'm noticing here, you were saying before about how like they were pretty close to the surface, so you don't get that shadow.
Yep,
On
yep.
the inside of the thigh, you do, because they're like
Gotcha.
sunken in quite a bit more. Only on the inside of the
They're
thigh.
not that. Yeah.
On the
I've
outside.
seen. Yeah, no, I didn't even think when you showed me the inside, they didn't stand out to me at least. Again, some of the I'm
It
trying to think
depends
what
on,
I
I
have
guess,
around
that
here.
pose you get too. Because then here on the outside, actually, I noticed these guys, they look a lot more
I
sunken
do
in.
see those a little bit more. I was gonna say because classics, I know, that was always something that I noticed once people started talking a little bit more of the pins. Like normally I wouldn't notice, it's fine,
Right.
but they do tend to, because it's flesh, right? And I think on certain figures, that's when it starts to look a little odd, like they look like robots. If I think too much about it.
Colors too, like
Yeah,
depending on
the
what
colors
color
are,
they're using.
yep, for sure.
Like for this, I probably wouldn't notice it as much because it's that pale blue.
Yep, yep.
For something like Goku, the orange here, I think orange tends to be one of those difficult plastics to like really match. I
Yeah,
notice it in Goku's legs quite a bit more. The pins. Part of
Can you
that
hold them
is
up side by side? Just get a quick last look at these.
so
that
Vegeta's got
fight.
him in height, which is funny because he's actually the shorter of the two when it comes to the show. Well, he used to be really short. He grew
Interesting.
several inches over the series, apparently. But with his hair, he definitely stands taller than Goku.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, I can see that. They're pretty similar overall. I do.
They
like
are, but the characters, just the designs are just. I love them. They look so cool.
They are a lot of fun.
Huh.
So I just got to be careful with the Goku because he's apt to fall apart at a whim.
This totally looks like it's straight out of Dragon Ball, right? This is that dragon piece. Let me come back to this other cam here.
Yeah, Goku has a move called the Dragon Punch, and it definitely looks like that. Because he looks like he's punching you with Shenron, the dragon from the Dragon Balls, and that's exactly what that looks like.
So are the Dragon Balls? Never mind. So I've seen. Let's see where I saw the image. And the image of this, there you go. This is what you're meant to do. Oh, there you go. Duh. Look at the box. Oh, wait. Actually, I was about to say, duh, where's that star? It would show me, but it's not actually even on here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see the sickle kind of action with the knives.
It's literally like
He's
spinning
flying
around. I wonder if it's the fan. It must be the fan when moved a certain way.
Maybe. Yeah, like he'll do like a spinning fan kind of deal like Katana used to do. But yeah, I'm digging that dragon. Like, Nolan said he loves that dragon, and I'm definitely digging that.
Let's do this right. So let's and then we should probably close up soon. Let's see.
Yeah, it's getting late here. I didn't realize it's almost 1 o'clock. I got work in the morning.
Oh yeah, the work.
It's only a 4-day work week though, because I had off today, so I'm down.
All right. Well, so we'll do sort of this. We kind of close out. How does that work? Either way, it's basically this, right? He's coming out of sort of this spirally thing. How am I do this? It's like those puzzles that I used to play as a kid. And you'd be like, wait, am I doing this right? Did I solve it? It's actually not that hard, but at this hour in the day for this old man, there you go. I think it's supposed to be something like kind of this uppercut that he's got going on.
Yeah. Yeah, very Hadouken.
Kind of right on.
Sure you can. That might be the sure you can.
Oh, sure you can. Right on, Oz. Thank you for playing with me today. That was incredibly fun. And I'm just, playing with this whole StreamYard thing, live streaming. Got a little bit of time off work. So I will likely be live streaming the next couple of days, just getting on here short, little bursts and figure it out. But I really appreciate you jumping on once again.
Absolutely.
You continue to be my go-to support for live stream. I totally just noticed that my 2 favorite Storm Collectible figures so far, sorry Gilius, are totally color coordinated, which is awesome.
Yeah, hey, look at that. You must have a thing for redheads.
I must. Anyways, y'all, thank you so much. Once again, thank you, Oz. Really appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who came through. I absolutely love this dragon as well. Nolan, I'll give you the last word. Thank you to everyone who came through. Like I said, take a look on the channel for the notifications, subscribe, like, do all those things. And hope to see you in the next couple of days, all right?
See you, everybody.
All right, y'all. Have a great night.
See you.
Yeehaw!